to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Welcome back to Inside Scoop Virginia. I'm Bettina Lawton, I'm your host, and we're going to be talking about the VFW. We're going to be talking about student veterans. I've got three fabulous veterans who have joined me to do this, and I'm going to introduce them all. They are all incredibly impressive. So Gary Ketch is to my immediate left, and he retired from the Navy in 2007 after 30 years of service, active duty and reserve forces. He was recalled to duty in 2004 in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Noble Eagle. And while he was deployed at that time, he joined what is called the oldest and largest organization of war veterans, which is, of course, the Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States, having earned his qualification for membership in the North Atlantic submarine operations during the Cold War service in 1979 to 1983. In 2008, he joined VFW Post 7327 in Springfield, where he served as the post commander from 2010 to 2014. And in recognition for all of the great work that he was doing at the post, they won the All-State Post, and then they won the All-American Post, so they've got lots of awards. And now Gary is the 2014 elected VFW Virginia District 10 Commander. So thank you for taking the time to come on and talk, Gary.
Thank you for having me.
Then we have, next to Gary, we have Jacobo Flores. He was served for 4 years in the Marine Corps, including a combat tour in Iraq. He is the commander of VFW Post 8469, which is in Fairfax Station. He is in his last year at George Mason. He's getting his degree in civil engineering, and I know you came here from your job down in Arlington, so I appreciate you coming up here, Jacobo.
Thank you.
And then we have Walter Sweeney with us, and Walter also served 4 years in the Marine Corps. He did a combat tour in Afghanistan. He is the Senior Vice Commander at VFW Post 8469. He is the Judge Advocate for the VFW District 10. He's a member of the VFW State Student Veterans Committee, and he's the outgoing president of the GMU Student Veterans Society. So, busy fella, and I appreciate you coming in, Walter.
Thanks for having me.
So let me go back to this oldest and largest comment about the VFW. And I actually had someone, when I mentioned that the VFW guys were going to be coming on, say to me, what is that? And I was kind of shocked. My dad was a commander in the VFW, so I've always known what it was. But what is it for those people who don't know? You obviously have to be in a foreign war, right?
Well, a foreign war, or having earned an expeditionary medal, which doesn't necessarily mean you were in conflict, but you were in zone. Okay. And there are some other lesser known qualifications, such as being on a deterrent patrol for SSBNs.
What's an SSBN?
Submarine ballistic missile submarine.
Oh, sounds great.
So there are many ways to join, but essentially it's being on the front line in some fashion.
Okay.
Earning a combat action ribbon, earning a deployment expeditionary medal.
Mm-hmm. So how big is the VFW? When it says it's the biggest, what are we talking about here?
Well, right now we have about 1.9 million members between our VFW members and our auxiliaries. Mm-hmm. We have nearly 7,000 posts worldwide. That's within the 50 states, Europe, and in Asia, mm-hmm. Japan. And our members, the posts range anywhere from 25 members to, I believe, our largest post right now is at 3,200 out in the Midwest.
Wow.
We actually have the third largest post in the world here in Dale City with about 2,500 members.
Wow. So. Oh, okay. So is the big difference between the American Legion and the VFW the foreign combat zone experience, or what's the difference between the two organizations?
As far as qualifications go, yes. Okay. There are some slight differences in mission. The VFW focuses more on combat veterans and their families, mm-hmm. and the after effects of war. The American Legion is a little broader, serving all veterans in many different ways. When you look at what we do, it's fairly close, mm-hmm. just some slightly different focus.
So what is it that the VFW does, and has the demographics changed a lot with the most recent wars? Because frankly, I looked at the annual report, And you got a lot of old white guys.
Yes.
Now, the two guys at the other end are not old and aren't uniformly white here, but it seemed like somebody needs to start taking better pictures, because otherwise everybody just thinks you're a bunch of old white guys.
And that's one of the stereotypes that we fight.
Right.
When I speak to people about joining the reserves, one of the typical reactions that I get is, well, I'm not retired yet. And that has nothing to do with it. From the day you step on the battlefield or earn the qualification, you're eligible for membership, whether you're 19 or 90.
Okay.
So, the demographics have changed quite a bit. The folks coming back from World War II were of a type of demographic to join an organization and participate in the camaraderie. Today's veterans are a little more fast-paced than the veterans of old, in that they like to see things happen quickly. So we've seen actually in the VFW a decline in membership in recent years, but we're working hard to change that perception of the organization to attract the younger crowd, the younger veterans, because we do a lot of very good work within the military.
Well, what do you do to attract them? I mean, these guys are obviously, they got attracted. How come you guys joined the VFW?
Well, I have several points to that. New generation coming in. There's an influx at George Mason University of veterans going back to school. And because of the proximity to our VFW post in Fairfax Station, we get that generations coming to visit us. We do functions for them, kind of an open house type thing, invite them to cookouts, make them feel comfortable at home, welcome back at home feeling, and also go out to the university. The VFW back in 2008, when I first met the VFW, they were there present at George Mason during a 5K run. So that's how I got involved into the VFW, and then became a member, and then got involved into the officer position. So we're trying to make it more attractive for all the other generations coming in through George Mason especially.
Okay, now, Walter, you're obviously the current president, outgoing, probably counting the days, president of the GMU Student Veteran Society. So how does the society, or does the society interact with Jacobo's post, or is it broader? Is multiple posts? How does this all play?
So the Veteran Society at Mason, we have a very strong relationship with VFW 8469 and Fairfax Station specifically, but also with the district as a whole. The students who are going to Mason, the student veterans, don't just live in Fairfax. And while, of course, for our own reasons, with our post, we of course want them to join ours, we also say, there are posts closer to your home, reach out to them, go to them. As the outgoing president and also the senior vice of the post, there's obviously a connection there, being an officer in both positions. And our incoming president at the Veteran Society is actually the service officer at our post as well. Okay. So we try to maintain a very close relationship there. And one of the key things that we've found success in is giving the student vets and the younger vets who come to our post the opportunity to really take ownership of something. If they want to lead a committee, if they want to take an officer position, we try to make that available to them so that they can really have, it's not just a post, it's their post.
So at the district level, Gary, is there a concerted effort to try and get, I know Walter is the judge advocate, whatever that is, but is there a concerted effort for younger veterans to have positions, beyond just their own individual post?
Yes, every post is desiring to bring in the younger veterans, because we understand that those of us who are in positions of authority now within the organization are really only the keepers of the organization for the next group of veterans coming up. So our population within the organization is aging. We have younger veterans who are coming out of conflict and are eligible. They need to take positions within the organization, leadership roles, and make the organization theirs. Just because things were done one way in the past, or there was a focus, does not mean that can't change for the future.
That does not sound very military to me. I thought the military, you did this and you did this, you only did that.
The organization has to serve.
I'm very open here.
Yeah, well, the organization has to serve the needs of the members, and the needs have changed.
So how do you identify the needs of the newer members? Do you survey people? Do you just have like focus groups? How do you know what these guys need?
Some of it is intuitive, but most recently within the state of Virginia, we recently conducted a survey of veterans. We haven't seen the results yet, but it was an online survey that we tried to distribute to as many veterans within the state as we could to ask them, what is it that you expect from the VFW? What do you think the VFW does? How could we help you better? What are you looking for out of such of an organization so that we can better adapt to ensure that the younger veterans want to come to the organization, take possession of it, and maintain it for the next group of veterans that are going to come through.
Okay. Well, let me ask you in terms of the George Mason and the students. I mean, you guys are obviously not 18-year-olds sitting in the freshman English class here. How does all of that work? Are there issues on the campuses because you've got the older veterans showing up to go to college? I mean, you got a great GI Bill that got passed, in I guess 08 or somewhere around in there. How does that play out on the campuses?
So on big campuses like George Mason, I believe, is the second highest percentage of student veterans or number of student veterans in Virginia. So at a school like that, the transition is a little bit easier just because you'll take classes and you'll see somebody else with a beard or, wearing their unit t-shirt or, tattoos. I mean, the various signaling methods, that we have. So it's easier at a school like that. I came to Mason in August of 2011, and within 2 weeks, I was tied in with a large group of student veterans on campus, and have been obviously connected with them ever since. At the smaller schools, it is more difficult because there's just fewer of us. So there's a sense of loneliness that comes in. I have several friends who got out of the Marine Corps around the same time I did, who are at some of those smaller schools, and they say, I'm sitting in class with, 18 and 19-year-olds, and they're talking about prom, and I'm thinking, well, when you were at prom, I was in a firefight. Right. So there's not a lot, that they have in common. So bridging that gap is difficult because we are still students. We're veterans, but we're also students. So trying to join in with the campus can be difficult at times, and it's really a matter of finding those like minds on campus and kind of making your own way.
Well, I want to thank you guys because we got about 19 seconds to close this out. I want to thank you guys for coming over because there's obviously a lot that the VFW does, and those folks in the smaller schools, obviously, hopefully they'll go find the local VFW post and meet some like minds there.
Join the VFW.
Thanks for participating.
Thanks for having me.